Some stories in heavy metal are about triumph, some are about tragedy, and some are about survival. For over 40 years, Megadeth has been the sound of rage, rebellion, and resilience, led by one man, Dave Mustaine, the fiery red-headed guitarist who was cast out of Metallica only to rise again and build his own empire. Now, in 2025, that empire prepares for its final chapter. After 17 albums, countless tours, and more lineup changes than almost any band in history, Megadeth has announced their last album and their farewell tour. This is their story. In April of 1983, Dave Mustaine's life would change forever. He had been the lead guitarist of Metallica, a young band with fire in its veins. But due to drinking, drugs, and volatile behavior, Mustaine was unceremoniously kicked out of the band. For most, that would have been the end, but for Dave Mustaine, it was the beginning. He swore he'd form a band faster, heavier, and more dangerous than Metallica could ever be, and thus, Megadeth was born. Mustaine found his first true ally in bassist David Ellefson. Together they created Megadeth's foundation. But from the very start, the band was a revolving door. Guys like Garth Samuelson, Chris Poland, Kerry King all cycled in and out of Megadeth's early days. Chaos wasn't the exception, it was the rule. Their debut record was raw and unhinged, but it made one thing clear. Megadeth had arrived, and Mustaine's revenge was only just the beginning. From the mid-1980s to the late 1990s, Megadeth entered their golden age. Albums like Peace Sells But Who's Buying, So Far So Good So What, and Rust in Peace cemented them as thrash metal gods. With guitarist Marty Friedman and drummer Nick Menza joining Ellefson and Mustaine, the band reached its most iconic lineup. From 1990 to 1997, Megadeth was unstoppable. Countdown went platinum, they headlined arenas, they stood shoulder to shoulder with Metallica, Slayer, and Anthrax as part of the Big Four of thrash metal. But behind the success, fractures were forming. Mustaine's battles with addiction, constant pressure from the record label, and creative tensions all brewed beneath the surface. By the late 1990s, the cracks could no longer be hidden. In 1999, Nick Menza was gone. Marty Friedman left. Lineup shifted again. Megadeth was no longer the same band that had conquered the world earlier in the decade. In 2002, disaster struck. A severe nerve injury in Dave Mustaine's arm forced him to disband Megadeth. After nearly 2 decades of struggle, Megadeth was over. Or so it seemed. In 2004, Dave Mustaine made the decision to resurrect Megadeth, without David Ellefson. A bitter legal battle between the two prevented the classic partnership from continuing. Instead, Mustaine rebuilt the band around himself, with a revolving door of musicians. Albums like The System Has Failed, United Abominations, and Endgame proved Megadeth could still evolve, even as the lineup constantly changed. In 2010, a familiar face returned. David Ellefson rejoined Megadeth, seemingly closing an old wound. For the next decade, Megadeth experienced both triumphs and turmoil. The Rust in Peace reunion tour rekindled old magic, but behind the scenes more departures came. Sean Drover left in 2014, Chris Broderick left soon after that. Mustaine recruited new blood. Drummer Chris Adler of Lamb of God and guitarist Kiko Loureiro. 2016's Dystopia won Megadeth their first ever Grammy. It felt like a resurgence, but the peace wouldn't last. In 2021, Ellefson was fired from the band after a scandal that rocked Megadeth's fan base. His bass tracks were removed from the upcoming album, and once again, the man who had stood by Mustaine since the beginning was gone. With Ellefson gone, James Lomenzo, a former member from the mid-2000s, returned as the permanent bassist. Drummer Dirk Verburen and guitarist Timo Metazzari completed the final incarnation of Megadeth. In 2022, they released The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, a record that proved Megadeth still had fury left in the tank. In August of 2025, Dave Mustaine shocked the world. He announced that Megadeth's 17th studio album would be their last. A farewell tour in 2026 will bring the story full circle, ending over 4 decades of thrash metal dominance. For Mustaine, it was about leaving on his own terms. For fans, it was an end of an era. Megadeth's story is one of anger, ambition, chaos, and survival. From Mustaine's exit from Metallica to Ellefson's repeated departures to countless lineup changes and comebacks, Megadeth has lived and breathed the spirit of heavy metal. And now, as they prepare to take their final bow, one truth remains. Megadeth was never just a band, it was a revolution. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and come check me out on my next one. I do a video on this channel every Friday and every Monday. Thanks again. Bye.